Good morning, everybody. It is Martin with the frog in his throat. It's Martin coming at you, and welcome to this live free virtual event. Opportunity awaits the Sales Fit business, which is really where I would like to be able to help you kickstart your 2022. And wow, it's been a hell of a couple of years, hasn't it? But finally, it appears that everything is getting back on track. Business confidence is up, consumer confidence is rising, and businesses have a really good feeling about them. And there's opportunity out there right now for businesses to take advantage of the current market conditions. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Martin. I'm Director of the Sales Strategist, and it's my purpose to motivate and inspire businesses around the world to improve their level of sales fitness. You know, if you're watching or engaging this event, chances are you own a business, you're in a startup, maybe you manage a sales team, or you're part of one. And if you occupy any of these roles, you will understand the importance of keeping yourself fit, of doing regular exercise, going for a run, working out in the gym. You know, if you're not mentally and physically fit, your health suffers, and so too does that of your business. And no matter how experienced you are, no matter how successful you become, staying in shape takes effort and it takes commitment, right? And it's the same with your sales process. If your sales process is not in shape, your conversion rates drop. You have to discount to win deals. Margins are eroded. You lose the edge. Your business health suffers. Now, most businesses I facilitate with, and it's been around 340 towards precisely 342 businesses in the last 18 months, invest a lot of time and money in their marketing health, generating leads. Most companies I facilitate with are on top of their financial health, reporting and compliance. Most organizations I work with are on top of their requirements around a healthy team, workplace, occupational health and safety, business, culture, employment contracts. They stay up to date with their manufacturing health. Yet when it comes to revenue generation, sales, the heartbeat of any business, it's neglected by a lot of people. And I find it curious that businesses invest time and money on improving virtually every other part of their business, with the exception of their sales process and structure. I was chatting with one of my all-in larger customers last week about this. I help performance manage and train their sales team here in Australia and in Europe. And the owner is an engineer. And I was drawing an analogy that when he started the business, he was an engineer. He went into university and he studied engineering. Then to stay on top of things for his manufacturing business, he had to stay in shape. So he kept abreast of the latest trends in manufacturing, the latest equipment. He went out to the marketplace and saw what products he could develop. He was constantly developing and honing his manufacturing skills. Still to this day, that's why this particular company is a market leader in their field. And he continued to learn, do short courses. And this is the same in accounting, in law, in marketing, you name it. Name the trades, electrical trades, plumbing, building. The professions are always upskilling themselves. And that's the problem with the largest profession in the world, sales. There's no qualification. You can't get a master's of selling, a bachelor in pitching, a degree in persuasion. So most will figure it out as they go, or are trained by someone who's figured it out as they go. And everyone on this call has figured it out pretty well so far, because you wouldn't be in business selling if you weren't reasonably good at what you do. Some of you have structure, some of you won't. Some of you have a process, some won't. Some know how to train people in sales, others won't. But figuring out is a problem as the sales landscape changes quickly, the way buyers buy change. And I just want to share my screen with you guys, just to run you a few slides. And if you check out this next slide here. So, if you're looking at today, 2020, 2021, 70% of the purchasing decision of the buyer is made before we as businesses get a phone call. And that's up from 40% in 2015. And it's forecast to rise to 95% by 2025. So let me say that again. By 2025, 95% of the purchasing decision of the buyer is going to be made before we as businesses get a phone call. And that should scare the living suitcase out of a lot of businesses. And rightly so, because you're only going to get one chance to pitch. You're only going to get one chance to call to action when these phone calls come in, or it could be a case of beep, 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 sale lost. And, in today's marketplace, this is a real problem. So it's awesome you're all on the call today. And right now, there's enormous opportunity for businesses to take advantage of. Business confidence is high, consumers are spending, but what's your plan? When I was figuring out the content that I wanted to put in today, I woke up this morning and figured out, it's all wrong. So I've redone all the content for this morning about an hour and a half ago. But what's your plan to take advantage of the marketplace to steal a march over your competitors, to gain market share, to establish your brand? A lot of companies are just lucky to have survived. I totally get that. Others are doing what they always did, putting in effort, sweat into everything else but the sales process. And the last 2 years, buyers have been forced to buy differently. You've seen the figures, and that's just the start. Anyone that follows me know I'm always saying selling's a process. It's a logical series of next steps. And if you follow the steps and put in the reps, you'll improve. Normally, when I do these events, I talk about engaging a buyer once they're in your sales pipeline. Frame control, how you establish status as an expert, create certainty. How do you pitch with intrigue that keeps the buyer interested? How do you get the buyer to close your deal to you? But that's not the step I start with when I go all in with my customers and performance manage and train their sales team. We spend the first month planning, making a sales plan together. And today, I want to give you some content and some actions in and around your sales team. Now, that could be a team of one if you're in a startup or a solopreneur, or a team of many, depending on what stage of business you're in. A structure that if you get it in place, you and your team will hit the ground running in 2022. Today, I want to get you thinking about planning your first 90 days of 2022. And, I first learnt the value and requirement of a plan in 1988. I just arrived in Australia from New Zealand to take up a new role, establishing a division for a company selling grass seed to the turf industry. Golf courses, councils, racetracks, turf farms. I had embellished maybe just a little bit to get the job, maybe just a little bit. I knew the industry pretty well, but as far as grass seed specifically, not so much. So I sat down in front of the best people manager I have ever had the pleasure to know. Just off a plane from New Zealand, new country, new city, new culture, not really knowing what I was selling. And the boss, Bob, gave me a pep talk. He handed me a map of Australia and a set of car keys. He looked me in the eye and said, "You got 3 years." I sat waiting for the training to commence. He held my gaze and said, "Well, what the friggin' heck are you still sitting there for?" No guidance, no plan, no nothing. However, the people manager and Bob knew that was how he was going to get the best from me. And now I knew I needed a plan, and I did. 3 years later, $3 million, 30% GP. The first mistake I made in business was thinking that all salesmen were like me, that that's how you trained all salespeople. So that's what I did to any salesperson, especially in the first 5 or 10 years of my business. That's how I trained them. Hey, look, you know your job. Here's a set of keys. Off you go. So, and it didn't work. And it still doesn't work because there's very few people that can have that course of action. Hey, Chris, how you doing, buddy? So, every year I work with a select group of business and performance manage and train their sales teams. Most scaling businesses don't need a sales manager, at least not initially. A sales plan with a clear and measurable action items, goals and KPIs, when combined with a measure of accountability, leadership from the business owner is all that's required. Running a sales team doesn't have to be difficult. Sales teams need a combination of a tummy rub and a smack to the back of the head for a bit of accountability. You're not allowed to smack people today. But anyway, back in the old days, maybe you did get a smack over the back of your head. Now, don't get me wrong. There is going to be a time at which businesses require a full-time sales manager. But generally, it's a lack of checks and measures, accountability and KPIs, sales teams with no boundaries or targets that drive the desire. So today, let me show you how easy it can be. For over 30 years, I've been setting and reviewing sales budgets on a calendar year basis, then reviewing them on a financial year basis. The way my brain works, I just like a 12-month increment, right? but I've broad experience over a host of industries, B2B, B2C, the formula remains the same. Anyway, there are a number of ways I find most companies do their sales planning, providing they do it at all. What did we do last year? Add on 10%. Maybe what we did last year, add on 20%, but I'll be happy with 10. Or maybe they go back and average the last few years and whack that average X on whatever it was last year. And they'll come up with a number. Then they'll divide it by 12. And great, we've got a budget. We've got an annual budget. We've got a quarterly budget. We've got a monthly budget. Woohoo! Sweet. How easy is that? We're set. But hey, and that's better than nothing, but only just. You have a destination. That's all you got. You got no map. You got no strategy. You got no road markers to ensure you're on the right road or even traveling in the right direction. So let's get strategic. Okay, so I'm going to walk you through some slides that I put together this morning. So the agenda this morning, what I want for you guys, what the information I'm going to be sharing and what I hope for you guys to get out of it is I'm going to give you some basic framework to set the 90-day mission, to set the 90-day action items, to set the 90-day KPIs, and to set the 90-day accountability factor. So that's what I'm working with you guys on right now. So first, 90-day mission. Thanks for joining, Luke. And in fact, I was just chatting with you last night about this exact same thing, Luke, the 90-day mission. So what's the 90-day mission? What is your 90-day mission? So let's take the first 3 months of the year. So January the 1st to March 31st. From a sales perspective, what would you like to have achieved at the end of the 31st of March? When you look back over the previous 90 days, what have you achieved that tells you that you have sales success? Just think about that for a second. What does that look like to you? Now, I can imagine that most people on the call are coming up with a number. So it'll be a number. And when I asked Luke last night what his number was, I won't tell you what it was, but he gave me a number, which is great. That's what everyone starts up with. So all journeys have to start somewhere, right? But let's look at it a little bit differently. Let's break that number down and break it into customer or a job type or a market segment or a product. So however it is that you plan for your business, a number's great, but now let's drill it down. So if it's a customer type, so how many new customers do you want to onboard? How many new job types if you're in the earth moving business? Maybe you have a range of different services from 50,000 to 100,000, from 20,000 to 50,000 and 10,000 or less. What jobs are going to make up that facilitation by market segment? Maybe you're looking at different markets. Maybe you're looking at different markets to grow. What are those markets? If you're looking at products, and when I was selling equipment, and I still sell equipment, sometimes I budget by product. So product by product. Now, that's pretty easy in the equipment game when I only had, say, 20 products. If you're in a fast-moving consumer goods where you have 20,000 products or 1,000 products, not so easy squeezy, but you can do Pareto theory, which is 80-20, right? 80% of your business from 20% of your products, 20% of your customers, 20% of your job types, 20% of your market segmentations. And it's surprising how that works out most of the time. So once you've set what your intention is, now let's set your 90-day actions. So I'm going to run through a couple of examples with you right now. So, okay, so let's look at the 90-day actions. So if you're looking at a customer, for example, right, so what actions could I have taken? Well, I could have onboarded 3 new Category 1 clients. I've got meetings, whale accounts. I've added to new clients' average spend. I've sold 20 new products to existing clients. I've increased the top 20% of my clients' revenue by 15%. These could be action items that you take if you're budgeting by customer. If you're budgeting by job type, well, it could be, hey, look, I've added 1 new $50,000 to $750,000 customer, 3 new $100,000 to $500,000 customers, whatever it may be. And Luke, when we were talking last night, you came up with a number of customers that we were looking at. Great. Market segment. I've onboarded 4 $50,000 clients in the glass and glazing industry. I've onboarded 2 $25,000 clients in the solar panel industry. Whatever your industry is, if you're chasing new market segments, you could break it down by market segment. Another way of doing it is by product. And for me, based on what my business model is, this isn't what it is, but maybe I've onboarded 4 new all-in customers that I do performance managing and training of their sales teams over a 9 to 12 month period. Maybe it's I've onboarded 10 new Endurance Plus customers, smaller solopreneurs to small size businesses who don't have sales teams but still need some coaching facilitation. Maybe one of my goals is to have filled 15 sales cardio workshops. So that's 10 per workshop, which is 150 customers in the workshops. That's how I would do it by product. So what are your action items? When you drill it down from what your goal is, what then is your action item? And then how do we get KPIs out of that? Because this is where the gold is. And so it's all a matter of drilling down, drilling down, drilling down, drilling down. Just keep drilling down. So KPIs, the first thing, there's a lot of misunderstanding of what a KPI is, what a key performance indicator is. A key performance indicator in any job of a business is a minimum requirement of their attendance at the workplace. A KPI is no cause for celebration. A KPI is no cause for reward. A KPI is a minimum requirement of do your bloody job. This is what we've agreed is the minimum expectation that we have of you in this role. And if you can't do this for any reason, that'll facilitate a discussion, all right, but it might be a discussion that you may not enjoy. So a lot of businesses, quite a number of businesses that I come across reward people on their KPI. If you are going to have a reward system, have it based on a percentage increase over your KPI. So maybe it is, hey, look, on a monthly basis, if you get 20% overachieving on your KPI, then that's a cause for celebration. Maybe it's 50%, whatever it is for you, whatever works for your business. But KPI, minimum expectation of the job that person is performing. I hope that makes sense. Don't think I could be any clearer. And KPIs is kind of a hot spot for me, but because I don't see many of them. And it drives me nuts because sales guys, sales teams, everyone in the business really needs KPIs. And they should be built into the contract right at the start. Now, KPIs can change, especially in sales. But the person, when they're starting employment with you, should at least know what they're getting themselves in for. Ideally, they're going to help set the KPIs because then you're going to get buy-in. Interesting side note. Here's me getting distracted again. Interesting side note. One of the businesses I'm working with employed a new sales guy last week, and I was out there for 2 days training them. And he's always had his KPIs and his budgets given to him. But we were working through this. I was working through what his KPIs were, what his benchmarks were going to be. And he was kind of like a fish out of water because he'd never actually had input into it before. He was enjoying the process, but it wasn't dictatorial. So KPIs. Okay, I'm off my soapbox. The other thing about KPIs is I always say to people, focus on the mission, not the money. So many KPIs that I see are all budget related, all monetary related. And that's fine. There does have to be a KPI which is monetary related because salespeople like chasing a target. So it might be a monthly, a quarterly, an annually sales goal. It might be margin related. It could be anything you make it up to be. But for me, personally, I like to have one financial-based KPI as part of a sales team's performance measurements. All of the rest are action-based. So let's keep rolling on here. Hey, Tennille, nice to have you. That's all right. We'll put this, this will be recorded anyway, so you'll get a copy of it afterwards. So, okay, so let's look at a KPI. So I've gone with, I've selected the one, I've increased the top 20% of my customers' revenue by 15%. So that's an action item that I've chosen that we're not going to drill down to get a KPI out of that. So some actions that would come from that would be, okay, so I've reviewed the top 20% of our accounts. I've developed an annual ground up budget and customer business plan. That could be an action. I've discussed growth plans with the top 20%. I've introduced products, services not being utilized. So you've gone through the current customers that you have, and you've figured out that, say, 20% of them, 50% of them aren't using your whole suite of products. So that's another way to go back to. So, okay, so let's chunk it down from, so that's step one. So based on, I will increase the top 20% revenue by 15%. I've chunked it down now to a few action items, a few chunks that kind of make sense. Now I'm going to chunk it down again. And I've decided that the best way forward from a B2B, existing customers that are long-term customers, is that I have a business plan presented and signed off with all of my top 20% of my customers. Now, just so you guys all know, I have used this for many years with all of my top accounts, and it works like an absolute charm. Having an individual business plan. So if you're in business where you have distributors, where you have, my case, there were rental companies, I had resellers, distribution arms, people that sell your product on, it's great to be able to go to them every year with a business plan. And the business plan starts with something like, example, let's say they did $200,000 the year before. And you're sitting down having a properly structured sales business planning meeting with this organization. Hey, look, last year we achieved $200,000 worth of income together. What do you think is achievable this year? And get their input. And they might say, hey, look, Marty, look, I'm forecasting quite considerable growth this year. 200,000. Look, I'm thinking I would be disappointed if we didn't hit 300,000. Great, 300,000. Is that achievable? Yes. So, and when you decide, yes, it is, great. So now you've got a target. Remember how I said before, one financial goal. So the financial goal with that customer is 300,000. Right. Now let's break that down, Mr. Customer. How are we together going to achieve that? Now, all of a sudden, you've got some pedal, you've got some rubber on the road, right? Now, what I like to do is split that down into 12 months. Right. So, let's say you sell tires. I don't know where I got that from, but let's say you're selling tires for me. Right. So we're going to have we're going to do a promotion in March. Great. So you are going to have a promotion in March, Mr. Customer. Let's put on the list of things you're going to do. What we're going to do is we're going to provide you all the visuals for that. Let's have a open house. Let's have a training day. Let's have all your team available for a training day in May. And so over a period of 12 months, you have a complete list of action items that you've all agreed to, that if it's done, that 200,000 becomes 300,000 at the end of 12 months, or at the end of 9 months, or at the end of 30 days. Business plans is absolute gold. And if you chunk that down further, now all of a sudden it becomes a KPI. I have 5 structured business plan meetings each week with the top 20% of my customers, depending on how many customers you've got, of course. But that is now a measurable, definitive KPI that you can hold someone accountable to. Now, at the end of every week or every month, you can say, hey, look, Coco or Jocko or whatever my mouth. Anyway, sometime I have structured, so you can sit down the other week. Have you done your 5 structured business plans meetings? No. Why not? Oh, and sign off. Oh, that should, and sign off should be on that as well. You can tell I did it earlier on today. So that's an example of chunking down a KPI. Hope that makes sense. Let's look at another one. I've onboarded 4 $50,000 clients into the glazing industry. Great. So let's chunk that down. So how would you go about doing that? Well, I've identified glazing companies who have the potential to be a $50,000 client within 12 months. That's one action that you'd have to take. I have an ROI document, return on investment document, and a sales plan ready to go. So the salesperson has come up with a return on an investment strategy. They've got that ready to go, and they've got a pitch ready to go. Or depending on what they sell, back in the day, I sold glass lifting equipment. I've done demonstrations to all potential clients. So that's chunk down number one. So what does chunk down number two look like? I've identified 12 potential clients and completed one demonstration per week. Great. Brilliant. I've identified 12 potential clients and one demonstration per week. Now, look at where this goes. So what I've said at the start is that we wanted to onboard 4 potential $50,000 clients, right? And this is where you need to know your numbers reasonably well. So what's your conversion rate? So if you're cold outreaching customers, what's your conversion rate from cold outreach to meeting? And then what's your conversion rate from meeting to next step? What's your conversion rate from next step to investment proposal? What's your conversion rate from investment proposal to sale? Most companies don't know that. That's okay. Well, it's actually not okay. But if you're on this call, it's okay because now you need to know what you need to work on, right? So in this particular instance, what I've done is work back. So I've just made some shit up in my head, right? Because that's what I do. But I've made some stuff up. So I figure, righto, if I want to actually sell to 450,000 customers, then I'm going to have to identify 12 of them. So I'm going to have to identify 12 of them. I'm going to have to identify and demonstrate to 12 of them. So there's actually a step before this, which would be because your conversion rate from cold outreach to demonstration might be, say, 50%. So a step before this, which I've missed, this is why you go through the process, is that I have identified and outreached 24 potential customers. Now I've identified 12 potential clients to do a demonstration with, knowing that my success rate is going to be about 30%. So if I do 12 demonstrations over the course of 3 months, then 4 $50,000 clients is going to be the natural byproduct that spits out the end. Focus on the mission, not the money. If you focus on the actions, the money will take care of itself. That is the gold in setting KPIs. That is the gold in setting action items around your sales budget. Because now you have a KPI. And this particular one, it was a bit easier. You didn't have to chunk it down any further than 2. But now that I've had that realization, I'd probably have the first one, which is I've identified and outreached 24 potential clients, resulting in 1 demonstration per week. So that's how I would adjust that one on the go. So this all makes sense. Now it's all about accountability, because, and this is really goddamn important. Watch my language. This is really bloody important, guys and girls, because success is driven by accountability. It's great that you have KPIs. It's great that you have action items. It's great that you have all that sort of stuff in the business. But if you have KPIs and action items and all that stuff without accountability, you may as well have not gone through the effort in the first place, because sales guys need boundaries. People need boundaries. We humans like to have boundaries because it makes us feel safe and secure. And in the workplace, and with sales guys, can be like herding frigging cats. So if you want to herd your cats, have the collars on them. No, don't do that. But anyway, if you want to herd cats, you need to give them a firm direction. You need to give them clear instructions. And as I said earlier, you need to rub them on the tummy when they're doing a good job, and you need to smack them on the back of the head to keep them in line. It's a firm but loving smack on the back of the head. But success is driven by accountability. That is important. and some of you on the call will identify where this is coming from, but daily with your sales team, just a 5-minute check-in. The goals for yesterday, what they said they were going to do yesterday, is it done or not done? Weekly, 10-minute check-in. Were the goals for the week done or not done? If they weren't done, why the hell weren't they done? Because you don't want to be getting to the end of a sales month not knowing what's going on as a leader in your business. Salespeople can be slippery. Salespeople will have all these good excuses. Yes, I said excuses. We salespeople are really good at finding holes and driving our way through them. That's what we're paid to do. But there are ways that you can fix it. There's a way you can plug up the hole so that Fido doesn't escape out of the fence line. Okay. And then on a monthly basis, what happens on a monthly basis? On a monthly basis, every single month, like clockwork, 3 to 4 days after the end of the month, you're going through a sales review. I like to do a 1-hour sales review once a month where you talk about, and depending on your business, I used to share revenue budget, revenue hit overall, and then I would share their own revenue target versus actual with everybody else. And I'd have graphs which compared them with everybody else, more as a percentage to budget. Because if you've got a sales rep which has a $2 million territory versus a sales rep which has a $1 million territory, the guy with the $2 million territory is going to win every month. So I like to express them as a percentage of budget rather than an actual revenue target, because it kept the competition there. Because if you've got a good sales team, they're going to be competitive by nature. And sales guys like to win. Sales girls as well. Salespeople by nature, we're competitive buggers, little possums, and we like to compete. So monthly KPIs, and you're posting the monthly KPIs. If you've got 4 or 5 KPIs, what are they? Boom, boom. Right, how'd you go? Hit them? Yes, no. A review, a post, a scorecard. And so based on the example that we've just shared, you'd have monthly sales budget, 285,000 and whatever they've hit. 20 structured business plan meetings, done, tick. 4 demonstrations to 50,000 K glazing, complete, done. And then I also like to have measures around the performance of the CRM program. Salesforce, HubSuite, HubSpot, there's so many of them out there these days, Odoo, whatever it might be. Because the one thing you as a business also need is to record the information that the sales guys are putting in the CRM, because that's gold. And then all of a sudden your business is not, it doesn't run the risk of information drain should people come and go. So that's why I always have a metric around the CRM. I mean, it could be the number of activities, the number of emails sent, the number of calls made, whatever it might be, but you can work out what it is for your business. And that goes through everything that you do in regards to a structured business plan and a sales plan, and drilling down to get accountabilities based around everything that we've just discussed. If anyone has any questions as we go, feel free just to write your questions in the chat box, guys and girls. So why do we do this? Well, this is an interesting example of a business that I facilitated with about 18 months ago. Now, I've rounded these numbers up and down just for the easy maths, but this particular company was converting at 8% when I first started working with them. They were generating 300 leads per month on through their advertising. Average spend was $4,000 a client, and their average margin was 30%. So based on an 8% conversion rate, they were getting 24 new clients a month, generating a revenue of 96,000 and a margin of 28.8. Makes sense, right? So let's work on the process. So within 60 days, we'd got it up to 10%. Now they were converting 30 new sales. Their revenue was 120,000. Their margin was 36, an increase of 25%. That's worth doing. 6 months later, we're up to 15%. They're now converting 45 new sales. Their revenue was 180,000 and their margin was 54,000, increase of 87.5%. Now, Who doesn't want an increase of 87.5%? Like everybody would. And now this was through planning, but it was also through pitch, all the other stuff that I go through with this type of customer. But this wasn't the interesting thing. The interesting thing here was this customer sold on average twice a year. And when you factor that in, their average increase in margin was 275%. Holy shitballs. From doing some sales planning, from setting sales KPIs, from holding their team accountable, from getting their pitch right. This is the sort of action that you can get from taking action. You know, so what's your plan? What's your plan? Do you all have a plan? Everyone listening here, do you have a sales plan? I don't know, but I'm curious. Do you have a sales plan? So start now. Start today. You know, a sales plan, planning your action items, coming up with your 90-day block is really going to hit you the ground running in 2022 because very few companies are doing this. A lot of companies at the moment, if you look at what's happened just in the last 18 months, buyers are buying differently. The world forced buyers to buy online. Buyers who had previously had all the power in the sales process got even more. The 1,000-pound gorilla, which is the buyer, became a 2,000-pound gorilla. And it's little nuances to the sales, to your sales process and what you're doing makes all the difference. I just want to give you a little bit of an example of what happened last week. I was buying, so I decided to reach out and buy media advertising. And so we went through a sales process, right? And so I reached out on Captain Google, and within 10 minutes, I got a phone call. 10 out of 10, got a phone call. Boom, great. And I asked advertising, what's your rate card? And the sales lady on the end of the phone says, I can't send you my rate card, but what I can do is lock in a 30-minute Zoom call. Boom, 10 out of 10 for that one. Next commitment, right? And then she went into her status piece and it was a bit weak. And then she finished off the call by saying, so look, give us a call within a couple of weeks. If I haven't heard from you, I'll call you back. Now, I couldn't help myself. I said to her, no, you're not closing like that. I refuse to let you close like that. She started off so strong, 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10, status piece, which we haven't covered today, 5 out of 10 close, 0 out of 10. Little things make all the difference. Another person I work with, similar experience with their existing customers. Marty, client hasn't bought off me. He's a great customer. I quoted him these new products. What had happened? He hadn't followed the process. Process is important in sales. Every single person, new or existing, has to follow a process. If you don't follow a process, something's going to go clunky. Something's going to go wrong. And that's when things are going to go wonky. And for me, if ever a deal goes wonky, that's when it does. It's because I've skipped part of the process. So set everything in place and kickstart 2022 because not many companies are. They're relying on relief that they're finally through this COVID lockdown. They're relying on customers buying the same way they used to. They don't anymore. If you take a strategic approach, you're going to be ahead of the game. So what's your plan? Now, today, I'm going to bring to you guys an offer, something that I've never done before. But to get 10 businesses kickstarted in 2021, I'm giving you the opportunity to work with me for 1 month for 30 days. The first month, when I performance manage and train businesses on a long-term contract, we get very clear on the plan. We get very clear on the action items and KPIs. So for $998 plus GST, I'll work with you to set your plan. This will happen over 2.5 hours of direct one-on-one facilitations with me over the next 30 days in 4 blocks. And you'll have to do the work too. Now, your plan, your action items, your KPIs need to be more important to you than they are to me because it's your business plan. It's your KPIs. You know, as much as I would like to, I just can't snap my fingers and boom, your sales KPIs and your metrics are all sorted. But if you're all in and you're ready to crush 2022, to increase your revenue and get your sales on track, all you need to do is this. All you need to do is email support@salescardio.com.au. In the headline, put I'm all in. Or you can text 0412 357 880. Text I'm all in. Or you can visit the salesstrategist.com.au and fill in the connection request, and we'll set up a Zoom call. I'm ready to start this process to a lot of small businesses, or 10 small businesses, over the next little while. A lot of small businesses work through Christmas. I'll be working through, apart from the week between Christmas and the New Year as well. So I'm set to go, and I've got space for 10 businesses. So if this is you, if you need help with your sales process, if you need help getting your structure around the first 90 days, so you can really hit the ground running, so you can dominate, you can make 2022 your bitch, then take advantage of this offer. Now, don't think there's any questions. So it's unlike a sales guy to be on time, but we've got 41 minutes and 30 seconds. So everyone who's attended today's event, let me just turn that off for a second. Everyone that's attended this event today, and everyone that's going to be listening, everyone that's not listening even, hey, wish you all a very Merry Christmas. Hopefully you're going to have some time off with your loved ones, with your family, spend some time recuperating and recharging and thinking about how you're going to sell more next year. And so, as I said, the facilitations are there. That offer is there for 10 businesses. Get on, take advantage of it. In the meantime, people, Sales Fit Business is a healthy business. From my sales heart to yours. Have a great end to 2021. Ciao for now. Hooroo.